Honorable Men Discord, Jimmy Kimmel was censored. Let's talk about it.
How you see yourself is how you perceived. I see a man strong, gifted, head strapping, never down on his knees, begging. Gotta make a way, even in my darkest hour. Say the odds against me was new. I would never cower.
As always, welcome back to another episode. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, if you have something to say pertaining to this episode, I'll see you in the comment section. All right. So for those of you that have been keeping up with the news, or maybe you haven't been keeping up with the news, late night host Jimmy Kimmel was recently canceled, suspended, however you want to put it. He's been placed on timeout due to some choice words that he shared in a monologue on one of his sets. Now, before I get into that controversial monologue, I just want to point out something that I thought about earlier today when I was speaking with a colleague of mine. One, Jimmy Kimmel, yes, he's a late night talk host for his self-titled show, Jimmy Kimmel, but he's also a comedian. And the interesting thing about this recent current event is that as a comedian, what should he speak about? What is allowed to be said as a comedian? Which is why the world of comedians out there are looking at this as something that they need to rally together and stand up against, because it was supposed to be something that we can laugh about. But here's something that I think he did wrong, in my humble opinion. It's not so much the joke towards the end, because I honestly, personally feel it was hilarious. The timing and everything was hilarious. And we're going to get to that clip in a few. The end portion of the joke, which had to do with President Donald Trump and his thoughts on how he's been holding up, or the question that was asked of him about how he's been holding up, that portion of it to me was funny. Can we agree that it's funny, or is it controversial for me to say it's funny? All right, the portion that was not funny, I believe, that got him in the position that he's in, is the portion at the beginning where he made it seem as though the right was gaining some type of points off of the unfortunate death of Charlie Kirk. That was the part that I think put him in this position where he is right at this current point in time. That's the part that I think really caused the outrage and took him off the air. All right. I don't think it has to do with the Trump portion of it, although President Trump most likely felt bothered by it. I think what really allowed Trump, if Trump was behind this, because I'm not saying Trump was behind this, although many people believe Trump was behind this, I think what really made it possible for it to happen and take him off the air was what was said before that. But don't take my word for it. If you're not familiar with this, let's take a look at this news clip about the whole ordeal, and then we'll talk about it after.
It is now on President Trump's new threat to free speech and broadcasters, following ABC's decision to indefinitely suspend Jimmy Kimmel Live. Elizabeth Schulze joins us now. Elizabeth, the president is suggesting that the FCC should actually take away the licenses from broadcasters to give him, this is a quote, only bad publicity or press.
Yeah, that's right, George. Good morning. President Trump is ramping up his attacks against TV broadcasters, suggesting his administration could take action against them if their coverage is too negative of him.
Returning from his state visit to the UK, this morning President Trump is suggesting the Federal Communications Commission should take licenses away from broadcasters that are repeatedly critical of him.
They give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr.
It's a move that would seem to be at odds with an executive order the president signed on his first day back in office, pledging to protect free speech.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
And it comes after ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely Wednesday, after Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr criticized Kimmel's comments Monday about the alleged killer of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
This was not the first time Kimmel addressed Kirk's murder, posting on Instagram just hours after Kirk was shot. Can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. Thursday, the FCC chairman praising Nexstar and Sinclair, two of the biggest owners of network TV affiliates, after they said they wouldn't air Kimmel's show. Nexstar needs Carr's approval at the FCC to complete a merger with another media company.
We want to empower local broadcasters that have the public interest obligation to push back on national programmers so that people have more choice.
Carr suggesting the FCC could intensify its actions against TV broadcasters.
I don't think this is the last shoe to drop. This is a massive shift that's taking place in the media ecosystem, and I think the consequences are going to continue to flow.
Top Democrats in Congress calling for the FCC chairman to resign, accusing him of a corrupt abuse of power. And former President Barack Obama slamming the current administration, writing online, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. Overnight, late-night hosts standing with Kimmel.
He's a decent, funny, and loving guy, and I hope he comes back.
I stand with you and your staff 100%.
Comedian Jon Stewart returning to host Comedy Central's The Daily Show on his night off.
It's the all-new government-approved Daily Show.
And criticizing the Trump administration.
They've just redefined what speech means. What free speech means is free speech is speech that supports the president.
There's still no word from our parent company, Disney ABC, about Jimmy Kimmel being off the air indefinitely and if and when he will return.
So, again, I stand on what I said. It's clear that President Trump did not like the remarks that included his name being mentioned. That's clear. We're not going to dispute that. That's clear. But what allowed him to pull it off, if he is in fact behind this, is certain things that were said prior to that. Because again, I'll see you in the comments, just keep it respectful. The portion that was said that mentioned President Trump's name wasn't the part that I personally feel was what allowed this whole thing to happen, where he got pulled off the television. It was certain things like this. A few things I jotted down. So he referred to, you could say, the Republican Party as the MAGA gang, unless he's just strictly talking about the president's cabinet. But it's usually one and the same when you're referring to the MAGA gang. Anybody who is aligned with President Trump, in some people's view, is considered part of the gang, the MAGA gang. Then he mentioned something along the lines of gaining points, I guess from the publicity of this all. So you can say some people from the left are viewing this as the Republicans are gaining attention, sympathy for someone that I guess some people don't feel is worthy of the attention, meaning Charlie Kirk, which is offensive to a degree, right? No, it's extremely offensive. Let me change that. That's extremely offensive, especially to his family. If his family's seen stuff like that, what are you trying to imply? Like all of this was concocted just for gaining points on some type of scoreboard? It was offensive. So that was if that was considered a joke, that was a poor choice of a joke, right? I'm not saying that all of this deserves him being pulled. But what I am saying is it was made possible because of certain things that were said prior to the actual joke. The joke to me was really towards the end. I don't see the joke in calling them MAGA gang or to gain. This thing was done to gain points. And then the last thing I put was referring that the shooter is one of theirs. So you're making light of a serious situation. And I stand on what I said, and I know Charlie Kirk said some things that ruffled feathers in the black community. And I understand why they ruffled feathers in the black community. Some of it we have to own. Fatherless homes, we have to own that. The problem is that in across the board, whether you're black or white, the problem in this world, and this is the problem that I want everyone to really pay attention to. The problem in this world is we all, no matter what race you are, we all at some point in time lack accountability for our actions. Or I should say the mass majority of us, because there's some people that are out there that I believe are stand-up people and they take accountability for their actions. So to say all would be incorrect. But as a majority, we lack accountability. All right? And that's the problem. All right? Now, the portion of Trump, what he said about Trump, I thought it was hilarious. But to say those things about that the shooter was one of theirs, there's too much division in this country. All right? But before I go into all the division, I just want to get some of the reactions, because there's a lot that I want to say in this particular episode, and I will get to it. But let me just cue up some reactions to this whole ordeal, and then I'll continue with my thoughts on it. So let's get into this first thing that I have queued up with comedian Godfrey speaking on his this whole ordeal, and then we'll talk about it.
Kimmel's canceled? First is Stephen Colbert. Now it's Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel just got canceled because he said some horrendous things about, CK. I didn't even know that. I don't know what Jimmy Kimmel said. But Jimmy Kimmel is, well, from what I know, I've never seen him say anything real f***ed up or anything like that. But I think the good thing about this is Jimmy Kimmel, he's been on TV so long, he got to be stacking mad paper, you know what I mean? So he might as well start podcasting. Just start podcasting so you can talk your shit. But Jimmy Kimmel's one of the safest dudes I've ever seen. Jimmy Kimmel came from The Man Show with Adam Carolla in Comedy Central, right? Which was kind of edgy, but Jimmy Kimmel, man, of all people, man. My thing is his little Mexican sidekick, what's he gonna do? Oh, they probably gonna call ICE on his ass. That's real shit. He's gonna be like, Jimmy, we got Jimmy, you have to help me, Jimmy. What happened, Jimmy? That shit is crazy, though. White dudes are getting canceled, it's trouble. I mean, Arsenio lasted 5 years. And then Arsenio came back, and they canceled his ass again, while all the white dudes stayed steadfast. Arsenio was canceled in the 90s, and he was killing it. Then 20 years later, came back, and they canceled his ass again. See, at least you guys get to run and stack your chips and build your wealth. Cleveland didn't even last long. He got his own show and didn't even last long. And a white dude was doing his voice. We can't even last in cartoon. God.
Godfrey is hilarious. I like his whole take on that. So it's showing here that Jimmy Kimmel's been doing this since 1989. So he, like Godfrey mentioned, he had a strong run. This is not a defeat by any means for Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, he may feel that way, but with a catalog like that, with a history like that, he'll be fine. And let's be honest, I've heard people say this. One in particular was my colleague. Like I said, I had this discussion earlier with a colleague of mine. And who's really watching late night TV? Times are changing, and you have to change with the times. You see everybody's jumping into podcasting, right? The podcasting space. You see former pro athletes in this space. You see music artists in this space. It's just the way, it's just a sign of the times, okay? He'll be fine. But this is not about whether or not Jimmy Kimmel's going to be fine. This is not about whether or not but like what Godfrey mentioned, this is not about whether or not Jimmy Kimmel has stacked up his money in case of a rainy day, which the rainy day is here. It's now. This is not what it's about. It's about, was it fair that his show was suspended? Was it right? Is there a such thing as freedom of speech anymore? There's a lot of questions about this. Now, I feel like some of the things he said in the beginning, he shouldn't have said. Another thing that I thought about earlier was sometimes comedians are telling jokes that they didn't write. Now, no one came out and spoke about that because did someone write it for Jimmy Kimmel? We don't know that. Does that matter? I don't know. It may matter. Because if he didn't write it and he said it, maybe it's not just him that needs to be canceled. Well, the entire show is canceled regardless. So I guess they covered all bases in that regard anyway. So maybe there's no need to speak about that. But the fact of the matter is I'm pretty sure someone saw the content before he actually went out there and said it. Or someone heard it. Maybe if he wrote it himself, maybe he showed it to someone. And he got the green light, and they sort of thought it was fine. And evidently it was not fine. But what does that mean moving forward for other talk shows? What does that mean moving forward for comedians? What does that mean for the rest of us in the world that don't have a name or a major television broadcast behind us? What does that mean? Does it mean that we have to watch what we say? I think it's been evident throughout time, most recently, that we have to watch what we say. All right. You have accounts of people saying that they've lost their jobs over certain things they voiced over social media. So this is nothing new. This is nothing new. But I want to go into a clip that I came across because the problem with a lot of things that's going on in this world is when one thing happens, it's like a snowball effect. I came across this thing that I'm going to cue up right now. Let's take a look at this, where people are calling this blackface. Let's take a look at this, and I'm going to speak on this after. This is Jimmy Kimmel, and I've never seen this before. I literally came across this as I was piecing together this episode. Let's take a look at this, and I'm going to speak about it after.
Sometime at night, Karl Malone look up in sky and say, "What the hell going on up there? Do UFO live on other planet, phoning home like E.T.?" Karl Malone read on TV about white people getting deducted by alien, sticking all kind of hell up their butt, and that's a damn thing. Now, Karl Malone never seen no flying saucer himself, but if he do, that's going to be a spooky time. That's why Karl Malone say government got to step up and give 102% to keeping them little green man off this here earth. Because the day them dudes stick something up Karl Malone butt, that ain't going to be no good time for nobody, especially Karl Malone butt. Listen up, E.T. You better stay the hell back. Nanu, nanu. Until next time, this here Karl Malone.
Okay, if we could bring it back a little bit to the header. All right, I want to bring it back to the header. And I'll be honest with you, when I came across this, it blew me away. All right, we don't have to play it. I just wanted to see the header up there. Thank you. So look, it says woke Jimmy Kimmel in full blackface on The Man Show. Why is this clip important, and why did I decide to put it in my episode? Because, again, when something like this happens and it's trending, it goes viral, there's going to be someone out there digging in the crates, so to speak, looking for more fuel for the fire. As a black man, I do not consider this blackface. Folks, listen, if you're African American and you disagree with me, let's talk about it in the comment. This is not blackface. We have to stop this. All right? We have to stop this. This is exactly the nonsense that both sides get caught up in. Whether you're right, you're with the right or the left. All right? This is not blackface. This is cosplay at most. This is a skit. To call this blackface is just ridiculous. All right. How is this different than when Robert Downey Jr. played an African American in that movie, Tropical Thunder? How is that different from Tropical Thunder? If anything, I would say Tropical Thunder was blackface, and people enjoyed Tropical Thunder. I'll be honest with you. I saw Tropical Thunder in the theaters, and I was half and half. I thought it was a little bit funny, but I looked at it also like it was a little bit sensitive for me. I'll be honest with you. Tropical Thunder scene with Robert Downey Jr. And I like Robert Downey Jr. as an actor. Phenomenal in Iron Man, and he's most likely going to make a great Doctor Doom. But that right there was not blackface. That was just cosplay. He was imitating a real life person in Karl Malone. You heard him try to imitate Karl Malone's actual voice. So to call it blackface is just again, feeding fuel to the flame, right? That was not blackface. Again, Tropical Thunder, Robert Downey Jr., we can say that was blackface, but we could just say it's acting because let's call it spade of spade. The Marlon Brothers did White Chick, and we can't be upset if someone says, oh, they're making fun of white people in White Chick. All right. The point I'm trying to make is we're becoming way too sensitive as a country, as a people, way too sensitive. And all the name calling about right and left, that's a whole nother story, which I'm going to conclude the episode speaking on that. I'm going to get into that, but I want to get into this final clip that I have, and then we're going to speak a little bit further about this.
It's the hypocrisy for me. Yeah, like it's louder than it's ever been ever. I don't understand how people want to hold you to a standard that they themselves don't reach. It's worse than hypocrisy. As a matter of fact, it's worse. It's narcissistic. Explain to me how Jimmy Kimmel just got kicked off the air or suspended indefinitely for speaking his opinion about Donald Trump's reaction to Charlie Kirk's passing. And it was clear that Donald Trump really didn't give a shit. But at the end of the day, how narcissistic that we're holding nighttime talk show hosts to a higher standard than the motherfucking president of the United States of America. Somebody riddle me that. Because he didn't say anything that was rude. He didn't say anything that was disrespectful. He didn't say anything that was like illegal or immoral. He didn't say anything that was hateful. He just gave his opinion on the president's reaction. That's it. And he was removed. And not only that, they want him to issue a public apology. They want him to donate to the Kirk family personally. And then they want him to donate to Charlie Kirk's organization. Real quick, can we just go down the fucking line of like it's insane. It's insane to me how many people we have that are unethical, illogical, immoral, and like unhinged people that we have in very important positions that spew misinformation, hateful rhetoric, bigoted rhetoric, like narcissistic and racist rhetoric daily, and their jobs are not at risk. So we can take a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk at football games, but Colin Kaepernick can't take a knee. So it's okay for people to make a meme or make fun of George Floyd's death, kneeling on each other's necks, laughing and smiling. But as soon as someone else does it, then it's wrong. You had George Zimmerman signing Skittle bags and Arizona cans when he killed Trayvon Martin. But God forbid someone does it to someone that you like, then it's an issue. How narcissistic and hypocritical can you be? I mean, we got people that are the most uneducated and unqualified in these positions. And the fact that they're also immoral, racist, and hateful towards marginalized groups doesn't make it any better. Pam Bondi, Nancy Mace, Kash Patel, and fucking RFK Jr., idiot. And the worst one of them all is Donald Trump. It starts with the head. But God forbid You hold everyone else to a higher standard than the one that you yourself follow. And then it's an issue. Miss me with the bullshit. Miss me. Because you really don't care. You just care about winning. You care about being right. You don't care about doing what's right. If you really gave a damn about Charlie Kirk, would you not try to enact gun regulation as soon as possible? Hell, you at least showed up to his fucking vigil. Donald Trump didn't even show up to his vigil, and it was on Capitol Hill. But you care so fucking much. Miss me with the bullshit, bro. This is ridiculous. But people who have an opinion, there are people who are losing their jobs and losing their livelihoods for having an opinion about what the fuck Charlie Kirk made them feel, or how he made them feel, how he lived his life and what he said, how it made them felt, and they're giving you their truth, and you're like, nope, that's wrong. You deserve to be canceled for that. But you niggas who are racist and misogynistic, narcissistic, and hateful, don't. This nigga Donald Trump just declared Antifa a terrorist organization. First of all, Antifa isn't even an organization, stupid ass. It's a fucking ideology.
I'm going to stop it
and you
there.
know what the Antifa ideology stands for?
I'm going to stop it there.
Anti-fascism.
I'm going to stop it there.
So you're telling me that anti-fascism is a terrorist?
I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it there. See, I don't want to make this a long rant. But the problem is bigger than the right. It's bigger than the left. Okay? And I've recently said that on my most recent video. So if you haven't watched the video with the hearing with the FBI director Kash Patel, take a look at that. I know it's a fairly long video, but the content that I queued up was very informative, and it's something to study. I know I've mentioned it as a case study. It's a case study. We need to study the behavior of the world around us. As individuals, as human beings, we need to study the behavior of individuals around us. And I'll say it time and time again, and I include myself in what I'm about to say. The problem with people, all right, and I'm not talking about a race. The problem with people is the lack of accountability. We need to all collectively admit we're not perfect, including myself. We don't have enough of that going on. I try to say it from time and time again. I try to say it time and time again because it's not said enough. We're watching different podcasts speak on issues. We're watching politicians speak on issues. We're watching celebrities speak on issues. Everyone has an opinion. But what I personally don't see enough of is accountability. Can we admit our flaws? Can we, if we were part of the people that were celebrating Charlie Kirk's disgusting and brutal death on camera, which was shared on social media, can we agree that no one should have to go out like that? Can we be human? There's not enough accountability. There's not enough humans speaking in this world. We have people that subscribe to categories. All right. And I understand there may never be a perfect system in place for us humans in this world. I understand. And, you know, as I was piecing this together, I just thought about all the different categories one has to go through in life. But I had to dig deep within and say to myself, how many categories do I have to identify with in this life? And I'm not even taking a shot at the new terms that have been implemented in years recent. I just sat back and I said to myself, these categories, and where did I get the categories from? Obviously, because as of late, everything is right, left, right, left, right, left. And I'm sick of it both. And I'm telling you right now, if someone asks me about which side I'm on neither side. I'm on the human side. If we focus more on the human side, we would get a lot done, because there's a lot going on, not just in the United States, but in the entire world, where if we looked at each other like humans, a lot of it would stop. I'm going to say that again. If we looked at each other like humans, a lot of the stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, no matter where you're from, would stop. No matter what country you're from, would stop. No matter, for New Yorkers, no matter what borough you're from, it would stop. But here's the problem. And this is what it just came to me as I'm piecing this together. As an American, yes, I'm an American. I have to deal with the fact that I'm an American, but what kind of American am I? I'm an African American, right? I have to define that. I have to make sure I clarify that because clearly some people can't see that I'm African American, right? So I'm African American, right? Then within the black community, some would describe me as some may ask me, well, are you FBA black? And then I would say no, right? I would consider myself Trinidadian black because both of my parents are from Trinidad, right? Then they might say, oh, where you from? Oh, I'm from New York. Or which borough are you from? Oh, I'm from Queens. Oh, you're not from Brooklyn. Oh, you're not from the Bronx. You see where I'm going with this? All right. Then I say I'm from Queens. Someone from Queens is going to be like, well, where you from? You from Southside? You from Fort Rock? No, I'm from Flushing, Queens. You only from Flushing. Nothing's going on over there. And this is real life accounts also. There's been conversations like this when I say I'm from Queens. It's like, oh, you're not from Queensbridge. No, I'm not from Queensbridge. I'm from Flushing, Queens. So what does that mean? I'm less than because I'm not from Queensbridge, or because I'm not from Far Rockaway. I'm not from Jamaica, Queens. I'm not from Southside Jamaica. I'm not from Hollis. You see where I'm going with this? Right? And then it goes even deeper. So then if I say I'm Christian, right? Now we're talking about in a religious space. We're not talking about all the stuff I just mentioned. I started with America. So follow me, right? So then if I say, yeah, I'm Christian. My mother, I used to go to church when I was younger, right? It's like, oh, what religion, right? Baptist. There's division in religion, in the Christian, and that's a whole nother, I could do a whole nother episode on religion, but stay with me here. So as a Christian, the next question is like Catholic, Baptist, Protestant, Episcopal, right? Division there. Where am I going with this? If we really stop and think about how many different variations, how many different categories, groups we belong to, we'll realize how exhausting it is to be a human being. We find so many ways to categorize one another that we cause so much division. And again, I challenge everyone to think as a human being before they speak. Think as a human being. Yes, it was comedy. What is this episode about? It's about a monologue that was supposed to be seen as comedy, which is supposed to be his right, his freedom of speech to be able to speak on what he wanted to say for his personal show, the Jimmy Kimmel show. But had he taken time to think about the wife of Charlie Kirk, right? Forget about parties and the right and the left. There's too much right and left going on. It's making me exhausted. I'm exhausted with it. Are you exhausted? Viewers, are you exhausted with it? Had he thought about the wife and the two children as a human being, maybe he would have not said the first half of the joke. Maybe he wouldn't have said the joke at all. Because at the end of the day, the part that I felt had a little humor to it, which was towards the end, the part about Trump. In the end, again, he's just taking sides because of the party he aligns himself with. But who cares? First of all, Trump is already in office. Whether you like him or not, he's already in office. So we are wasting time with the anger towards Trump and his supporters. He's in office. What we should be concentrating with and devoting our time to is trying to work with him to figure out if he will see things the majority's way. If we come together as people and say, well, you're doing a great job, or you're not doing a great job in this area. But we're not thinking like that. We're just too caught up in division and warring with one another. Just a thought. Let's get back to being human beings. Can we be human beings? Like I said, I already have to break myself down by all these things I mentioned. African American. I'm not an FBA. All right? I'm from New York. But it's not enough to be from New York. I have to let people know I'm from Queens, because some people are going to say, well, where are you from in New York? You know, as though like if I mention a borough that they're not in favor of, I'm less than. I'm less than because I'm not from Brooklyn or I'm not from the Bronx because I'm claiming Queens. It just gets ridiculous. It gets exhausting. Let's just be human beings. Let's respect each other as human beings. Can we do that? And by all means, can we have accountability? That's the challenge. But listen, as always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I appreciate you daily. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please leave a comment if you feel like there's something you want to voice. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I drop daily episodes Eastern Time at 5 p.m. And as always, stay honorable.